Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. And of course, it's Sunday, so we got a friend of the show, Jerry V. Hall, to stop by. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Rob. I am actually in Las Vegas at the tail end of the RareEVO 2025 event.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I'm curious to see how things are being built over on Cardano. And I'm also curious to see how much crossover is happening between Cardano and DeFi Bitcoin, if there's anything happening there. That, I think, is one of those big things. So everybody, if you don't know who Jerry V. Hall is, that's kind of odd. But if you want to follow him, get some great information, I linked in the description his X account so we can check it out. And then, Jerry, of course, we're going to have to talk about these RareEVO pictures and what the heck was going on there. But before we do all that, let's take a look at the markets today. So first of all, wow, it's really high. Congratulations, everybody. We're above $4 trillion. And there was quite a little bit of a rally the last 24 or 48 hours. I mean, we got Bitcoin up across the board. 24 hours, 1.8. What are we at? 108. Wow, almost 119,000. Although, if you take a look at the 30-day for Bitcoin, not so great, only 1.6. Ethereum is crushing it over 30 days at 43% up. XRP, 14, BNB, 16, Solana, 12. Of course, Lido is Lido. And then there was one that actually beat in the top 20 that beat Ethereum for 30 days. And that's Chainlink at 45%. And of course, there's other down the way. Jerry, what do you attribute this nice little run up to? Was it because of RareEVO? No, I'm just kidding. But why do we have such a run up on? It seemed like the weekends have been a little bit of an inverse. It's like Sunday we used to sell off, and now it seems like we're gaining until we get into the main markets. They open up and they dump on us. But what do you think's going on here?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't see any major macro indicators that I can directly contribute to this. I think that what we're happening is that there are a new round of investment is coming into this Web3 space from traditional capital markets, right? And that's not necessarily dependent on the Fed doing anything or anything outside of they're seeing a clear path forward for a return on their investment, right? So as we continue to see regulatory elements come into play and create what we'll just call them safe runways, as you see those continue to be more and more reinforced and more solidified, I think we're going to see more and more capital come from Web2 traditional legacy capital structures into the Web3 space. And hence you'll see elements like we just experienced over the last 7 days.
It's a perfect segue into what we're about to talk about, which is, I mean, we've seen the nice little big run up of Ethereum. And of course, just like you said, there's a lot of institutions and a lot of Web2 players and a lot of the legacy getting into it. This is the strategic ETH Reserve.xyz. I didn't link in the description. I need to, so you guys can find this and do your own research and take a look at it. But we are seeing that it's not just the MicroStrategies and MetaPlanet of the world buying up Bitcoin. Now, of course, we have these big companies getting into it and buying Ethereum. And I think we're going to see this for other businesses, putting these digital assets on their balance sheet. I've heard stories, of course. I mean, we hear about XRP and also Solana. I don't know if there's anything of people putting Cardano on that yet, or if there's any other different like ICP or Chainlink down the way. But Ethereum right now seems to be like the chosen one for these, like you say, the legacy infrastructure. And BitMine from Fundstrat's Tom Lee is just crushing it. They have 833,000 Ethereum right now, which is that right? Damn, $3.5 billion, Jerry, in I want to say 2 months, maybe. SharpLink, Ether Machine, Ethereum, man, even the Ethereum Foundation can't keep up. They don't even have 1 billion. Losers. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's quite a bit. And then, of course, we just heard about this new Ethereum Treasury Company, Fundamental Global Inc. They're found to raise $5 billion to buy Ethereum. And this is why I'm thinking of, and Jerry, you're a better investor than me, especially in the traditional sense, because because I was looking at, because MicroStrategy, I think people who got into that one pretty early did great, right? This is over a day. Obviously, they're down a whopping 1.7%. But look at this 5 day, 1 month. Ooh, that's not so good. 6 month, 1 year. I mean, 200% in 1 year is, I mean, I'll take that. And then 5 years, Jesus, 2,600.
Rushing it.
Yeah, exactly. But then this is even crazier. Bitmine, the one that we just talked about, Tom. And this is just traditional stocks. And you can find these stocks on Robinhood. And I've been buying since last week. And we talked about it on Tuesday. And I thought, this wouldn't be a bad thing. But look at this. Over a day, it's up 2%. Yay! 5 days, 55%. Look at that. In 5 days, 55%. And then 1 month, 6 months. And of course, you can see where they started to talk about Ethereum, because they were flat and doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, boop, and it went up to $135. Now it's down to, and then went to 30. Now we're at 50. I'm telling you, I think it's a good play. And then 1 year, and then 5 years. And then the last one we just talked about, which was from this treasury company, Fundamental Global. They're just getting into the game, and they're down massively because they're trying to raise those funds. But maybe that's something. But Jerry, what do you think about this, about the thesis of getting into these treasuries? Good idea, well, bad idea?
I think they're definitely, there's a valid thesis to it. When it comes to Ethereum specifically, those who follow me on the show know I have kind of a contrarian view on Ethereum. Yeah. I really honestly see it as the Yahoo of the space, and the time frame of the space being 1998, right? And I just don't think that the world, once it matures and understands the technology beyond the surface level use case descriptions of these things, are going to continue to wait for products that they've invested in to meet what other products are already bringing to the table today. It's kind of like, I think a lot of these traditional legacy enterprises are coming to this space, and they're looking at the market cap and the market lead that Ethereum has had for so long and saying, okay, the market's decided they're the winner. And I don't believe that to be true. I think the market is just now going through its discovery phase, and the tech that requires the least amount of fixing will be the tech that emerges as the winner, i.e. Yahoo losing its place to Google. I honestly see that. Many people are betting that I'm wrong, and I hope they don't lose their money if I'm right. And I'm happy to be wrong if I'm wrong, but that's just where I'm sitting. And so it's interesting to watch the legacy markets, especially these capital monsters, come into this space and think, well, we'll see. Obviously, they're smarter than I am, so I'm probably going to be wrong, but I do have that contrarian view, and I've placed my bets accordingly, and only time will tell if I'm right or wrong.
Well, what kind of bets are we talking about here?
Well, like for instance, I have a much larger stake in a layer one like Cardano than I do Ethereum. I mean, by orders of magnitude larger investments.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. I mean, I think Cardano and projects like it will emerge as the winners in the layer one space over Ethereum in 10 years.
You can do it. I mean, like, this is what's great about us talking, because like there's different ways to see things and different ways you want to go. So Jerry's looking at it like, I want to see this like years in advance. I'm just going to start just investing into this. And some people are like, I just want to do it what is today, and because I think it's going to do well. And other people are like, I'm just in it for the tech, bro. And they don't. and those guys are all liars. But I mean, it could be. But you know what? It brings up a good point about web browsers like Yahoo and the old ones, because we've been around, Jerry. So, like Ask Jeeves and stuff like that, Hotmail. And you know what? So think about it this way. This is what I always think about it like this. I look at the things that are hot now and what could potentially be great in the future. And I have no crystal ball. So let's just let's scroll down memory lane. And if you're old like me, you're going to remember some of these things. This is the most popular web browsers from 1992 to pretty much present day. Does anybody remember Mosaic?
Of course.
Of course, us. Or Netscape. But check this out.
Oh, my life changed when Netscape came to be.
Yeah. And then Netscape, just started to dominate, 85, 84%. But look at how much time it was. We're going from 1994 to 1995 to 1996, 1997 at some point. And look at Internet Explorer. And if you had a Microsoft Windows, you were like, okay. But look how long Netscape was in this. Essentially 3 years, 4 years, 4.5 years. And then comes AOL. You're like, what the heck? And there's that goof. Good for him. So 60 said just crushing it, right? Let's go forward. What else we got? This, Netscape, Firefox, and all this technology. And Internet Explorer was a long time. And it's still around, but let's just go to today. It's all Google Chrome, Netscape Navigator, which is the new one. Opera. What do we have today? Still Google, and so on and so forth. So like for me, when I think about like that, like I see it a little bit differently. I see like, okay, what are people betting on now, and what's going to make them happy? I think they're betting on Ethereum now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing of all time. We know there's flaws, we know there's issues, and we know there's hacks, especially on the layer 2, especially how things are being built. Not that Ethereum gets hacked itself, right? But the way that they build things on that. And I think we talked about this last time about how like certain, especially like Cardano, they actually have like some type of fundamental safeguard when people are actually building these new dexes and bridges and things like that. They actually have to go through a process to get approved. So I think that's in the future. But right now, I'm just saying, Jerry, right now, I think Ethereum is like the winner for now. And then, of course, all the other stuff will probably
there's no question, Rob. I'm going to be eating top ramen for the next couple of years until to see if my thesis pans out or not. But, one of the things I think is really interesting is you just showed that illustration.
Yeah.
What ChatGPT and these LLM elements have brought to us. It's going to be interesting to see, does a Google buy the predominant, like does Google go out and spend their enormous amount of resources in capturing the LLM product that is literally built to displace them? Or are they going to develop it in-house? Or are they going to do some combination of that? Do they want to continue to own market share? Because everybody who uses a Perplexity or a Gemini or a ChatGPT 5,
see, Jerry was talking.
We all know that is replacing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. First of all, this happened last time, Jerry. I think people can hear you. I just can't hear you for some reason. Can everybody hear Jerry when he just talked? Because I think there's something wrong with my speaker per se. Let's see.
You can hear me. Okay, so
see,
they can
hear you. I can't hear you.
All right, good.
Hold on real quick. Let me change a little bit of a setting.
Okay.
That's why.
Did you fix the problem?
Okay. Jerry, I think I can hear you now.
I was just saying, as we watched the transition of the Netscapes and the Internet Explorers and the rise of Chrome.
Maybe now. How about that?
Can you hear me? Wow. Anyway,
Jerry, keep talking about whatever you were saying because everybody can hear you except for me. I'm going to drop out for a second.
All right. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting in the world of Google search, right? Or not Google search, in the world of internet search, which of these LLMs is going to displace Chrome as the predominant use of search, right? To find what you're looking for, whether it be information or a site location or recommendation or what have you. And will it be Google that buys that predominant company, or will it be some unicorn that comes out of nowhere, kind of like Chrome came out of nowhere to displace the Internet Explorer? That's all I was trying to interject there. Looks like we lost Rob. Oh no. Well, nobody likes dead air. So I'm going to take a quick look in the comments and see if I can find something. I got to find the comments real quick. All right.
Sorry about that.
Are you back with me, mi amigo?
I'm back. Sorry, a little upgrade happened in the background. Hopefully I don't get hacked. So we'll go from there.
Well, I'll let you take over while I hydrate.
Sounds good. Hey, well, before I left, someone was asking for, hey, what's up with what's the update with Cardano? I think that's one of the big things that people want to hear about. So we actually talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, Jerry, and we had talked about developers. And the thing was, I think there was a couple of different sites that we pulled up. One was this Miso. And I found this because this is like GitHub commits. And I'm not a developer. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a repository. It's, where the developers work and they do all these types of commits and such like that. But like I was taking a look and I'm like, okay, number one is Mina with 4,600 commits. I guess this is going on for a 6-month time frame. Let's see. And then ICP is always like number 1 or 2. Chainlink, Bitcoin BEP2, Bitcoin, OK Cash. Doesn't make any sense. Cosmos, why are they building so much? Maybe so. Rubik, Fujicoin. And then look at this. Like Solana has 2 commits in a year. I don't think that's actually true. So I don't know about this website. It doesn't make much sense to me. But then we took a look at this one, developers. We took a look at EVM, Ethereum, SVM, Solana, Bitcoin, and we saw all the different developers that are there. And then we took a look at Cardano itself, which they've got 607 developers, and they're up 24% for 2 years, 3%, almost 4% for the year. When you were at RareEVO and having, looks like breakfast or lunch, no, there's some beer bottles there, with Nate here from Decimalist. And then you got to see Mickey and the crew, World Mobile. And then it looked like there was a panel. What did you find happening over there in Cardano? Is it growing? Are there a bunch of developers, or this is all just nonsense?
So that is an interesting element. So one can make a case that the number of developers building on a chain is indicative of potential value in the chain, because the more developers, the more chances of creating a product that reaches more people than if not. I totally understand that thesis. Yeah. However, when I think about products that are important, it's never about the number. Like, for instance, case in point, here's my example. When you look at Haskell as a programming language, very few people write and there's very few developers programming in Haskell. Yet the world's critical systems are built using Haskell, right? Okay. So are we talking about an app that's going to run your home vacuum, or are we talking about an app that's going to manage your finances? 2 totally different things, 2 totally different value propositions. And so I don't necessarily know or believe that more is better. So I just wanted to preface that. What I can see is IOHK, or I guess they just branding themselves as IO now, Input Output, Charles's company. These guys are putting a tremendous amount of time and energy into tools for developers. And I think that's super important. They're probably the leading chain as it pertains to creating infrastructure for the development community, as opposed to a simple SDK and letting the developers figure it out kind of thing. And I think that is going to pay dividends in the long run. The other thing I'm seeing from that particular standpoint is that more and more people are coming to this space with a cross-chain or interoperability mindset.
Right.
And I think that was really exhibited here when I saw the Polkadot booth, the Algorand booth, the Multiverse booth, and a whole bunch of these financial product startups that are, extended UTXO base type of elements, and it seems like interoperability is becoming more and more money is being put into that segment, which is going to bring developers from cross modalities together to solve those problems. So, somebody could be working on a Cosmos product today, and tomorrow be integrating it into a UTXO format element that extends into the extended UTXO for Cardano. And the next thing you know, you've got a party with everybody wearing different hats and t-shirts and stuff, and it could get crazy.
Sounds like a fun time.
Beer at 8 a.m. in the morning.
That sounds like Vegas. Yeah. Okay. So just to recap real quick. So were you in RareEVO? Was it a 2-day, 3-day event? I think.
You know what? So the first day was a developer day for me that wasn't in the casino at the convention center. And then RareEVO was 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Okay. And
so that was actually at the bottom one where you see Charles. That was the developer day. And that was actually at Top Golf. And that was, all these guys that were builders and trying to figure out stuff. That's where I learned about the extensive work that IO has done with their testnet in their education around coming in and developing on Cardano.
Nice.
And then the other ones were obviously in casinos and at the convention center.
Right. So the takeaway is things are being built. People are still believing in it. And then was there any project that you saw it was like, hey, that's a big thing, or any project that you saw that were like, hey, these guys are actually moving forward?
I will tell you that I was absolutely impressed with the progress that the World Mobile team has made.
Yeah.
They were kind of at last year's RareEVO, they're testing out their use case. We've got pilot programs in this geographic location, this geographic location, this geographic location. And this year, I'm not lying, was standing outside of a conference room ready to go in for like a seminar around World Mobile. And 35 out of the people standing outside all had the World Service mobile plan on one of the SIMs in their phone. Almost everybody has the capacity for 2 SIMs now on their phone. And so these 35 people had this SIM. And I asked them, because we were waiting to get in, can you guys do a quick message chain for me? Just so I can kind of see what's happening. We're, inside this thing. And sure enough, bada bing, bada boom. Da, 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 da. I mean, this service works comparable to the Verizon and the T-Mobile and even my Claro, which is a Central American, South American telecom company. Oh, dude, it's getting good.
So you have World Mobile?
I have a temporary World Mobile thing. Yeah.
Well, if it's as long as it still works, because everybody knows now that I signed up for it. I have 2 phones actually. I've got my regular. And I got the World Mobile. I mean, they're both Apple. They're both iPhone. And I got 2 for a specific reason, because I want to actually test it out. And since I'm right now we're in El Paso, which is right by the Mexico border, even downtown, my T-Mobile would drop there sometimes. I've used this 3 times over there. Hadn't had a problem. It's pretty fast as far as the data. And it's reasonably priced, for what it is. And then you get 5 million SIM swap insurance, and you get VPN, and you can actually stake your World Mobile tokens to help you with the cost of the plan. And again, like I said, it's a funny thing, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago about utility versus price discovery and speculation. And it seems here's the prices right here. Essential USA, which is pretty much good for most everybody, $59 a month. I know some people say, well, I get this other one for $20 a month or 25. Well, yeah, you can get that, but you and I both know that if you do a little traveling or move around, there's things that are broken. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people want a $20, $25 phone service. Some people want a little bit more robust, whatever. And then you got one for $70, which is global, data only. But still, how many phone calls physical phone calls? I don't take that many, but I still do because of the Airbnb stuff. And then you got an Advanced USA for $85. But I will tell you, it's like we said, it's a funny thing. What's the price right now of World Mobile? They have an actual working product. It's real world utility. You can use it right now across the 99.9% of the United States. I think it's actually in like 70 different countries now.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the price of the token? Over 7 days, it's up a
15
whopping 2.8%. 24 hours, it's actually down. And actually, if you take a look at it over a year, over 1 year, it's down 25%. So when I just take a look at like this whole market, like I think to myself, you know what? People just associate if the price of the token doesn't go up, it's trash. But we look at the actual product. I'm like, well, that product works. That product has utility. That's pretty awesome. And what does the token do? That's it. So I just think there's a disconnect for that, and maybe at some point it'll actually catch up. Thoughts, Jerry?
Well, I agree with what you said. I think that communication is one of those central tenets. It's a foundational element of my life. And if communicating with others is a foundational element of others people's lives, which I believe it is, probably what we have 8 billion people on the planet. Let's say 6 billion of them are interacting with a device. That's a pretty gosh darn big market to go after. You know what I mean? And will it continue to gobble up market share? I don't know. But one of the things I do know, and why I'm so high on World Mobile right now, is I see how I can fit into their ecosystem, right? Compute Portal can build nodes, both air nodes, earth nodes, and ether nodes.
Yeah.
Right. We can build those nodes. We can provide systems in which people can take those prices that you just saw there and dramatically reduce those prices by becoming part of the network, not just a user of the service. Right. And that goes into that whole thing you and I've talked a lot about, having us, the investor, transition from a participant in the investment to an owner of the thing. Right? Part of the ownership of the thing, whatever the thing is. So if you're a stake pool operator, you are actually taking part of owning part of the Cardano infrastructure. Right? And you do that brilliantly. You've been doing that for years, actually. And I think more and more people will start to see that utility extends beyond the service and can be part of the infrastructure play of the thing.
Right. Of the thing. So you got some things that the thing is there, but it just doesn't match up with the price. And, I always think about like the Jeff Bezos famous letter to his shareholders where he's like, yeah, we're down, I think it was like over 50%. But it doesn't make much sense because, we have been growing and expanding the EU. We have all these different capacities. We're actually decreasing delivery times, and we actually have tons more products, and just the expansion is amazing. I don't think it's going to last too much longer, but this is where we're at as far as like the stock. So just stick with us. And of course, they were handsomely rewarded because people started to say, oh, wow, this actually works. I think it's the same thing here. It's just going to take a little bit more time, but who knows? But that would Jerry, before we move on to the Federal Reserve and gold bullion and the tariffs and stuff like that, anything you want to add to this one before we get going?
No, I think you nailed it on the head. I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for us investors to find disparities in the marketplace between actual value and the price of the asset.
Yeah.
I think there are going to be many opportunities. And I think that's part of the glorious journey of price discovery, right? And it happens in every market. Look what it did in the 90s with the .com. Right? I mean, in some senses, we're still going through that price discovery.
That part is true, actually. We are going through this price discovery. And I think there's going to be a bigger price discovery when we start to talk about this, which is tariff.
Ooh.
Yeah, everybody's least favorite topic, depending on where you're at. But tariffs are here, and they could be massively positive or pretty negative. I don't really know how to take this one, so I'm glad you're here. But the Fed is floating an idea of funding a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this is from the Board of Governors from the Federal Reserve itself. And what's going on? I guess let's give everybody a little context. What's happening here? So, gold futures over the weekend, they've been going up pretty marvelously. as White House to issue clarification on bullion tariffs. What is this? Well, of course, you have your gold bars and your bullion, which apparently is 70% is made in Switzerland. But what's happening with tariffs is Donald Trump, Presidente, has imposed a 39% tariff on Swiss exports to the U.S. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection apparently clarified this week that 1 kilo and 100-ounce gold bars are not excluded from the tariff. So if you want those bars, I don't know why you would, but if you want them and you have to store them somewhere, I mean, I guess if I think bigger, of course, you know, the banks are going to do this and custody and those type of things, and or the different reserve assets, sure. But it's just from the Swiss Precious Metals Association, they said it must be noted that this clarification does not apply exclusively to Switzerland, but to all 1 kilo and 100-ounce gold cast bars imported into the USA from any country. And because of that, people are saying, well, if that's what it is, maybe the administration wants to actually devalue gold in some way. And then, as it was put out here, in the US, the idea comes up in the context of helping to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve or a sovereign wealth fund. And the use of revaluation proceeds was processed in recent legislation by Lummis. So it looks like they're saying, okay, if we can't do things with gold because the tariffs are there, which I think is kind of crazy, but whatever, maybe they do a Bitcoin reserve and they back things to gold, to Bitcoin. Jerry, what's your thoughts on this one? Is this like a big nothing burger? Is it just people it's just going back and forth, and or is there something?
Okay. So obviously this is not I'm not an expert in this, but I will share what I understand. So yeah. I just make that preface. So what I understand is the US holds a shit ton of what they call gold certificates. They're certificates on gold at a valuation of approximately $47 per ounce. Okay. Okay. And what Lummis's first salvo into addressing these things into potential law was that we revalue those gold certificates to the current valuation of gold and then sell them and buy Bitcoin with them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I completely understood that. That made a lot of sense to me. In context to what you just presented, it's a completely different situation because we're not talking about necessarily gold as an industry, but a very specific part of the gold industry, which is physical gold, which anybody who invests in gold should only be investing in physical gold, not reapothecated IOUs on gold that could be held by multiple entities, right? This is always, it's that musical chair game. You don't want to have a certificate or an IOU on something and the music stops and you don't get to the seat and you're the one sitting there holding, I can't get my gold. You don't want to be that guy, right? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, simply look up gold rehypothecation and go down that rabbit hole and you'll be scared off gold, anything other than physical gold for the rest of your life, probably. But anyway, so why would they want to hinder? Why would they do that if they were going to try to cash in on the value of gold? Because what that's done is, I'm sure that's diminished the valuation of gold since that news came out, right? Has gold taken a hit? 1%, 1.5%, something like that? And if it goes any more, then it will be going against the game theory of taking our gold certificates, repricing them to the current value of gold, selling it, and buying Bitcoin.
Wow.
But anyway, that's my limited understanding of it. I understand the need for tariffs. I don't understand the need for, we'll call it putting a tax on physical gold, unless it's specifically meant to dig and go after countries like China and Russia that have huge gold reserves and are trying to get those physical elements to ownership groups in the United States.
You know, this will lead me to the next piece right here. This gentleman, Bo Hines, he's part of the Crypto Advisory Council. He just stepped down this week. And Chris reminded me of something that I had heard during the interview when he left the administration, saying that the U.S. could buy Bitcoin in the background before even announcing anything. because that's the U.S. government. So maybe this is 3D chess going on. Do you think this could actually happen as they revalue gold, put it into it? Because they said we don't want to put a undue strain on the American taxpayer and actually tax them to buy Bitcoin. We'll find it somewhere else. Could this be one of those things?
I can tell you that warfare is on many different theaters. It's not always about bullets flying and bombs being dropped. And so if you wanted to do harm to an enemy, there is an entire theater of war called economic warfare. I mean, they could literally, if your enemy is holding a poop ton of gold and you want to devalue gold, that could hurt your enemy, right?
That's true.
So I don't know. I don't necessarily play those games or dabble in those lines of theory. So I'll just leave it at that. It wouldn't shock me that 3D chess is happening in the world of asset valuation as it pertains to mucking with another country's net worth.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's just, and this is the thing about tariffs, as they come in, you revalue different things, like a product that is, let's say we ship in some toy from China, right? And the tariff is 30% on all products coming in from China. So what used to cost you $10 is now going to cost you $13. So those prices go up. So you revalue different things as they come in. And again, it's not like the other countries are paying that. That's something that the importer is paying, whether that be Walmart, Target, whatever else. And it's either going to be passed on to the consumer, or they're going to eat that cost, or they're going to find more manufacturers in America, or they're going to push that to more manufacturing in America, but it's going to take years to do so. But that's tariffs, and I don't really want to get into it because, it's part of it, but that's like another 2-hour show, which should bore the hell out of me. So I'm going to pass on that one. Anyhow, so that's what we have for that piece. And then lastly, I found this interesting as well, talking about macro. Hang with me, Jerry. We're almost there, baby. So it's I saw this, that it looks like JP Morgan is now saying that there's going to be 4 rate cuts, which I'm like, that's interesting because I thought there was only 4 rate cuts by the end of the year. And I was like, hold on, isn't there only like 3 more meetings? Anyhow, if we do get these rate cuts, Jerry, because we just saw that inflation did tick up, but the jobs tanked. We somehow lost 250,000 jobs because of the revision. What do you think that does for us? Is that what everybody wants? Is that good? Or is that bad?
I'm telling you, rate cuts start to pave the way for liquidity cycles. And just ask yourself, if you don't really quite understand monetary policy, just think how it applies to yourself. If all of a sudden your income rose by 20%, so instead of making $5,000 a month, you're making $6,000 a month, right? All of a sudden, boom, you have more money. What do you do with that money? Do you spend it? Right? Smart people who understand wealth creation, they don't spend it on deflationary things. So they don't go out and buy a new TV. They don't take a vacation. They take that extra $1,000, they buy Bitcoin. They take that $1,000, they buy Apple stock. They take that $1,000. Well, you can't buy real estate with $1,000, but you put it into an asset. And that is when liquidity cycles start. That is how those up and to the right hockey sticks just go, because the smart money is putting it into an asset, not spending it through some deflationary element of consumerism. It's investment. It's
an investment. Yeah. And then well said, Jerry, as usual. This is why I have you on the show. So smart. Crypto Golfer reminds me, Rob, they count a 50 basis point cut as 2 rate cuts. So if that's the case, then we've got one coming. We've got a Federal Reserve meeting coming on September 17th. And I know we have one December, November. I think we skip October. Correct me in the comment section. Anyhow, there's 3 more meetings. That means that one of those meetings, we're going to have 2 cuts, 50 basis point cuts. If we get a 50 basis point cut, Jerry, do you think we just take off like crazy?
No.
Okay.
I think there'll be a lagging indicator element to this, because you got to remember only I'm going to use this word selectively, Only the elite are going to be at the very first of the line at the spigot, right?
Oh, you mean like
the
how we
spigot,
bought
the
Bitcoin
lending.
early? Yeah.
See,
Okay.
the rate cut stimulates borrowing.
Right.
When a 50 basis point reduction happens from the Fed, you and I aren't getting to take advantage of that.
Mm.
So you and I don't have a seat at the Fed window. You and I don't. We are downstream from that. So a 50% rate cut won't help you and I with borrowing rates for 5-6 months, right? However, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all those guys, they are front of the line. They're right there at the spigot. You know what I mean?
So
you know what I'm saying? And so what do you think they're going to put their money in, right? And if you wanted to front run a rate cut, just try to understand who gets to take advantage of the rate cut first. What are they going to invest in? That will be the thing that you see the up and to the right happen with first. And then all the stuff that we're in will lag because we're not investing in real estate in LA or Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly. Fairfax reminded me of this is the Cantillon effect, essentially. When the money printer goes on or you get rate cuts, the ultra wealthy, the ones at the very, like you said, which was marvelously done with your acting skills as you put it up by the spigot. Ultra, yeah. Now, ultra wealthy get their fair share. They get their cut, and they start to put that into what? Assets. And that's why, like, when you see in 2020 when there was this massive amount of money printing, and all of a sudden the real estate went up, what'd they do? They took all that money, which is worthless. I mean, it's worthful because you can get assets. Bought up a bunch of different assets, whether that be gold, silver, real estate, equities. And then, of course, they had that, and then it just trickles down to the plebs like us. So here we are. So it's good, but it's not great. That's just how it works, unfortunately. But I still say there might be some stimulation. That might be pretty good. I still think that we have a good runway coming into the end of this year, and maybe we extend to January 2026. I don't know. But I still say we're in the right place at the right time. Every single person here has done the right thing. They bought in the bear so they can crush it in the bull. And I think that's it. So everybody, that's it for today. Unless everybody's got some good questions, me and Jerry are going to stick around and we're going to answer all those questions as best as we can, and then we'll get out of here. Because it is Sunday. We gotta relax. Jerry's got more gambling to do. I mean, more than he does already.
Oh my God.
What? Let's see. Franklin says, what did JP Morgan say it? Are we just repeating it from unconfirmed sources? Well, I didn't ask anybody at the bank if that was actually true, but this was reported by a news outlet, and I also saw this on Reuters as well. So I didn't actually ask Jamie Dimon, but yeah, that's what they believe to happen. I'm not for sure, Franklin. Okay, this is a good one. I may rattle some nerves, but that is the same argument for XRP. It's too centralized. It will never see mass adoption. I don't know. Jerry, thoughts?
XRP is a tricky one. I have a tendency to be kind of negative on XRP because its use case is about movement of money, and I think stable coins have shown themselves to be the superior way to move money from one place to the other without any capital disparity. When I send you $1, it's worth $1 when you get it. If I send you an XRP right now, it could be 36 cents when I send it and 34 cents when you receive it. Those, you know what I mean? Those kind of things are always what I was skeptical around XRP. Now, don't get me wrong. I own some of it. I'm hoping someday I can earn some yield on it. But yeah, I don't get it.
Some people do, and they think it's going to be awesome. So I don't know. But me personally, I've used XRP like once to like move funds around, family in Mexico. But as far as like to do anything, like every type of like transaction I've done with like other crypto companies or people, it's all been either USDC or Tether. on various different chains. And that's pretty much all they really want.
Now, keep in mind, the XRP ledger is a completely different thing than the XRP asset.
Right.
I think the XRP ledger is an incredible piece of technology, and somebody may harness it to have a product or application on it that takes advantage of its incredibleness. Therefore, products and services could be built on it that absolutely are game changing. And I want to make sure that the XRP army knows I haven't gone completely off the reservation. I still understand those elements. It's the asset itself that I'm not necessarily bullish on.
Yeah. Well, then TT says Ripple Lab USD is replacing XRP. That's their stable coin. But
and
I don't know.
That could work.
Yeah, it could work. I wonder, I mean, again, now we're going to get into like the real, like the same thing we talk about World Mobile and the real world utility. Like it's utility, it's there and it can function. The question is how many people are using it and what is the volume on that? And I think it's very poor so far. But again, it'll come out like some Ripple has some partnership with some bank out there and it'll post everything. And then all of a sudden, like, what's the volume of Ripple?
And then XRP is used as the gas. There's that burn rate function. How long will it take to burn through 100 billion XRP? You know, my great grandchildren will get to see the value of my XRP investment.
Yeah, maybe so. And, you know, Anarchy says, I actually don't think decentralization matters for XRP. And I think it's funny because, like, look at the top 20. Does anybody really care about decentralization if you've got Binance chain as like number in the top 5? I mean, come on. And then as far as like, you know, with Base, I know it's not taking goodbye, but I think it's just Brian Armstrong. There's a computer under his bed and that's the whole ledger. So, I mean, I think some people think it's actually worthwhile. Most people are like, whatever. Anyhow, I could be wrong. Real Raid Boss says your grandkids will say, what a boomer. It's pretty funny. Dave's got a good point. Oh, midnight. This is a good one. The midnight approach looks promising. Jerry, when you were over there at RareEVO, what was the buzz on midnight?
It was a lot of buzz. I think it's really interesting. I think that hopefully some really cool things can be built on it. I think the use case for understanding that not everything needs to be public. Like, for instance, when I go to the bathroom, I don't need that to be public. That's something it just doesn't need to be public. And so understanding this and understanding the use cases where privacy matters, not to not to do illegal things, but just to not have things be transparent that don't need to be transparent, right? I think there are going to be many use cases for that base level of a context. Therefore, I think there are going to be some really cool things built on it that will add some really cool value. What they are exactly, Rob, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I could see use cases in the world of like a new kind of Airbnb, right? I could see use cases on subscriptions to things that maybe you don't want people to know you have subscriptions to, right? Because, you know, everybody's so hyper opinionated now that maybe you don't want everything you do being broadcast to the world or searchable by somebody on demand. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, there's just things you don't want to have happen. And then I know people, there's a couple of questions like, Rod, can you cover midnight? I'm not going to cover midnight. There's been some really great videos that are out there. One is check out Cardano with Paul. He does great stuff. Also Big Pay. I think he's been traveling, so I don't know if he's done an update, but Paul's got a really, really good one about how to claim those tokens and do it the right way. I have a big concern of safety and connections, so I'm not going to cover it. I just don't really want to do it. And but Paul's doing great, so check him out. Let's see. And then Serge says, decentralization is dead. Big business doesn't care. I don't think it's that they don't care. I think they need an open ledger in some way, shape, or form, so where there is a little bit more visibility. Because if that's not the case, decentralization, like there's no stopping JP Morgan from just making like, okay, here's our ledger on a computer, and that's it. That's the same thing they're doing right now. They need to let it copulate and move out, and it can be actually verified with everybody else. That's the whole beauty of decentralization. Is it going to be truly decentralized, where it's going to be like thousands and thousands of node for JP Morgan and whatever chain that they choose for their eventual stablecoin? Probably not, but probably a lot more than just one ledger and one super server. Just saying. Jack asks a weird question. Jerry, did anything come up about Caspa?
You know, I'll be honest, Jack. Caspa avoided me this RareEVO. I did not have not one conversation regarding Caspa.
What, were they there?
I did not see a booth. Yeah. Not to say that there wasn't a representative from Caspa walking around sharing info and things of that nature. I did not cross paths.
Okay, there you go. Here's another macro question. If CPI comes in hot, will you guys expect a dip in cryptocurrencies due to rate cut uncertainty? Yeah, it's good. Good point.
I don't know. I think I would say no. I don't think anything stops the train, because what is truly the underlying driving macro element in Web3? It's monetary policy. And until monetary policy stops, until deficit spending stops, the primary macro fundamental element that is driving the Web3 movement is not going to stop, right? So until monetary policy stops doing what it does, and we all know it ain't. There's no country on the planet is going to all of a sudden become fiscally responsible, because what it would mean is taxation would go through the roof. Taxes can't cover spending. They haven't for a long time. They won't until the whole world blows up. And I don't think the world's going to blow up tomorrow. So with that being said, I don't think there is a macro fundamental standard that would change the trajectory of what we have been seeing over the last 8 years.
Yeah, and it's something to think about, because there's a dual mandate for the Federal Reserve, right? They need to make sure that the economy is doing well, but they don't want to have, cut too much and, inflation goes up like crazy. But, Bring the Chaos says they're cutting rates because we are in a recession. Definitely not bullish. Look at the job data they lied about. They didn't really lie about it. I don't know if we can say they lied. We know that they are woefully inadequate in how they collect that data. I think we can all agree on that. But then there was another post as far as like recession wise. This is from Daniel. Check this out. I didn't want to talk about it because it was just kind of going too long. Daniel Fox, I'm pretty sure it's Foch. Canada is in recession. Canada lost almost 41,000 jobs in July, below all estimates. Youth unemployment rate reaches its highest level since 2010. Wow. Between this and a 90% chance of Fed cuts in September, I'd say there's clear runway for more cuts in Canada. So I don't think really America cares too much about other countries and what they're cutting, because we've already seen it across Japan and EU, stuff like that. But that's concerning. Our neighbors to the north are essentially in a recession. And I think and people say we're already in a recession, just a rolling recession. Jerry, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, sell your Canadian dollars now. Beat your neighbor to that marketplace.
Oh, yeah. Get into assets. I think that's pretty much the best we can do. And you know what? Like when you said you can't buy $100 worth of real estate, you're right. But you know what you can buy? You can buy a beautiful asset on any type of centralized exchange that you want to. You can get Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or Cardano or Caspa, all the things we were talking about today, Chainlink. You can buy all those assets, and it can be $100 worth of it, or $50 or whatever it is. And
actually, Rob, Algorand, there's this company building on Algorand called Lofty, and you can actually buy $100 worth of real estate.
Get out of here.
Yeah, Lofty.
Hold on.
Did it a year and a half ago or so.
Algorand.
I invested in an income property, I think in Illinois.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
It's called Lofty.
No, it's called Lofty.
You found it.
Thanks, Google. Let's see. So you can buy this is maybe like an REIT, like a real estate investment trust or something like that.
No, they do it property by property. So a real estate investment trust is a trust, And that trust might own one property, 500 properties, 300 properties, and can constantly buy and sell properties. When you invest in a property with Lofty, you're investing in that specific address, 2038 Clyde Street. And you get a piece of Clyde, you get a piece of that property. Now, you could trade out of it, right? But while you have it, you have it. And so far, it's all been like Lofty buys the property, they go through a management element, they rent, and it's an income property. And I'm buying into that element. Like if you did this, if there was a D.A.N version of this, I would invest in it, because you're really good at that. That's something like you do. I don't know if people know you're really good at that.
No.
So if you did something like this, I would invest in D.A.N property.
So that's it for today, everybody. I need to go think about this. That'd be it'd be something is to like, now this would be interesting. How about if we could, there's this guy named Robert Krager. He's over on Flip Flop Flipper. I had him on the show. He's from Puerto Rico, like I am. And he was, what he's doing is that he's buying up these distressed houses, fixing them up so they can actually be livable. Because I think it's like 25 or 30% of all the properties in Puerto Rico are dilapidated, run down, nobody can live in them, which is causing a crisis. So what he's doing is he's buying them, he's fixing them up at a reasonable rate, and then he rents them out for reasonable rates, I should say.
And doesn't he hire local talent?
No, it's all local.
I mean, the local people to do this. So he's giving jobs, producing,
contractors, everything, because you have to, and it's like and it's like every place in America. There's like great contractors and there's really crappy contractors, and he's doing a good job with fixing up the areas. But imagine if we could do something like that. If we could get somebody like I don't know if anybody would like to do that. Like we start to raise funds. We use like Lofty or some type of system, whatever else. We raise those funds. We put it into properties in Puerto Rico. We build up those houses, and then we start to rent them out at reasonable rates. And it would be interesting because like you could do that, and then you could have like a dividend. Like for every month, let's say you get $1,200 in rental income. Well, how many people invest into this specific property? We had X amount. Okay, every month they get this much, and so on. I don't know. That'd be difficult. It'd be something to do though. That's interesting. Okay. And then I could dump on everybody. It'd be awesome. How about this one? How about this one? Dad's DeFi Space says, which chains did you hear the most buzz about, Jerry?
I think the most buzz wasn't about one specific chain. It was the theme of interoperability amongst chains.
Really?
Yeah, there was a lot of, well, let's just call them DeFi, because I'm not that great at classifying things. So there was a whole bunch of these new DeFi companies and gaming companies that are not anchoring their enterprise to one specific thing. Right? They're multi-channel. And to me, that's a context of interoperability, which kind of, for the first 8 or 9 years of this thing, it seemed very tribal.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm seeing more and more of that kind of melt away as qualities of this merge with qualities of that to create this.
Yeah. That'd be something. Yeah, and I think that's the big play. Like, okay, here's a prime example with this gentleman that you were talking to, Mickey Watkins. Mm-hmm. World Mobile, when I first got introduced to them, which was years ago, there was they hadn't put out the token. It was kind of like an idea. They were going to launch, and they go, "This is what we're going to do." And I was like, "That makes sense," And then it made sense for a long time. Well, I think 4 years later, here we are, and I got a phone. I have a phone with their stuff on it. I mean, and their SIMs, and it's a working product. But I remember when they first launched, it was only Cardano. That was it. And then, which they realized smartly, which was it's going to be interoperability and multi-chain. And now they're on, well, Ethereum, Arbitrum, Cardano, Solana, Base, and BNB Smart Chain. That's the secret right there. And I think if everybody looks at the chains that are being built on, you see a recurring theme, and you're kind of seeing who the winners are. So I just see it like that. We got to get out of here, but shout out to Michael. He says to go on Rumble and do more streams on there. We actually do stream to Rumble, but not exclusively. But I didn't know you could give money to a free speech. Well, they are a free speech platform, which is Rumble anyhow. So shout out to everybody. Jerry.
Can I do one last shout out?
Yeah.
For all of the men and women who addressed me as Dan and asked for pictures at RareEVO, I just want to say thank you. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
It absolutely, I was honored and very appreciative that people find value in my interactions with Rob on the show. It's really cool to have people smile and go, "You're that guy."
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not. I'm just the sidekick on Sunday, but I'm happy to take a picture and chat with you for a couple of minutes. So thank you. What a great audience you have. Very honored.
Thank you. You know what? We do have a great audience. These guys are the best. Everybody in the comments section is just fantastic. The administrators, I like coming here. I appreciate this time because you guys know, like November, December, we're gonna get nothing but a bunch of tourists. And then when they get here, we have to be nice to them. We have to be nice, respectful, but we will make fun of them later. But that's just how it goes. All right, everybody. That's it for today. Jerry, thanks for stopping by again. See you guys next week. Thanks so much. Adios.